I believe our players are ready, though, so we can jump over to that match. Do you have a who do you think has the better matchup in this game?
Oh, I don't know. Both are really good players. They both have the double primal. I mean, Thunderous, of course, Thunder Waving everything. That means if Nikolai gets a Trick Room off, then, you know, Thunder Wave isn't as big of a deal other than that fully paralysis chance. But at the same time, Thunderous is good against Trick Room. It gets Taunt, it gets Swagger. It can stop Trick Room from even going up in the first place.
Yeah, that is very true. So he has a way to shut down Nikolai's actual options before they happen.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to come down to the players' decisions and how they use. We see Nikolai trying to show the camera some love with that sweet hoodie reveal. But when they are jumping into this match, it's going to be cool to see how they decide to lead, because with double primal on each side, you normally don't want to lead with either one of them. You want to be able to switch them in to change the weather, but at this point, they're also incredible Pokemon that you want to have on the field.
They are, especially if, depending on their speed, so leading a really slow primal against a faster one, the slower one will get its weather up.
Yes.
So sometimes it is beneficial depending on how they're trained.
And then, of course, if both players decide to train their Pokemon as slow as possible, then it's kind of a gamble still. So we're going to see that Chuppa actually decides to lead with that Kyogre and along with the Salamence. Right now, going to bring that Heavy Rain. No opposition from Nikolai's side, no Groudon on the field, so there's no questioning who's faster, who's slower. And, of course, Nikolai did lead with the Cresselia and the Smeargle, so definitely looking like a possible Trick Room setup.
Oh, definitely. Salamence extremely fast. Kyogre, it could be slow and bulky, but at the same time, is it as slow as Nikolai's primals? If Chuppa's not using Trick Room, then there's a good chance Nikolai's will go first in Trick Room.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough to see exactly how these Pokemon are going to play out. Like we said before, it all comes down to how they were trained.
It really does, and if Nikolai has Fake Out here, he can pretty much guarantee Trick Room going up, as well as Smeargle sticking around if it has a Focus Sash. In that case, it can just Dark Void, and it could go before Kyogre and Salamence, depending on how it's trained, and that could put Nikolai in a really good spot.
Definitely. I think that would be the first Dark Void we've seen in top 8 from these games specifically.
I think it would.
Which is refreshing, but at the same time, that's why Focus Session Smeargle is so nice. But we're going to see Smeargle actually opt to protect itself, going for the Spiky Shield, hoping for one of those happy accidents. Draco Meteor is going to get protected from that Smeargle as Kyogre. Oh man, that is a beautiful turn for Nikolai. Chuppa decided to double into that Smeargle with both Ice Beam and Draco Meteor, hoping to pop that Focus Sash and then knocking out Smeargle, but that did not happen.
Really, really good turn for Nikolai there. He keeps his Smeargle and his Cresselia at full health. That means if Cresselia stays around long enough after this Trick Room, it could even get another Trick Room up, depending on how much HP it stays with.
Oh my goodness, and it looks like, by the way, Nikolai didn't even want to risk any happy accidents. Doesn't have Moody on his Smeargle.
Yep, sometimes Moody can, of course, hurt your Smeargle. So in this case, in Trick Room, if it gets a double speed boost, that could really hurt Nikolai. So sometimes you're better off just going for a safer ability on Smeargle.
That definitely makes sense. We can see that Cresselia did opt to go for the gravity, so nothing is going to be floating in the air any longer. Of course, Salamence did protect itself, but this Dark Void is going to put this Kyogre to sleep. So there's our first Dark Void of the weekend, or I should say of Championship Sunday.
Yeah, not only is that gravity going to be big for letting Groudon come in, I imagine it's going to come in here. It's a great opportunity here, turn the rain off. And of course, Salamence, it's no longer in the air. It'll get hit by a Precipice Blades, but now Dark Void's accuracy is going to be 100. It's not going to miss, so... And his Smeargle's at full HP. If he switches Cresselia out to Groudon, Cresselia will be at full HP to get Trick Room up later in the battle. Nikolai's in a great spot right here.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what Nikolai is going to do. Definitely a tough spot for Chuppa, because he has to decide, do I switch my Kyogre out to try to win this Weather War, predicting the Groudon? If I do that, is Nikolai just going to go for another Dark Void, 100% accurate, and put 2 more Pokemon to sleep?
Exactly. It's so hard for Chuppa to even switch because they're just going to get Dark Voided.
Yeah, the pin is definitely real. We're going to see Groudon, though, coming in and setting up that Desolate Land. The sunlight becomes extremely harsh. Smeargle is going to go for the Dark Void, of course, connecting on both Pokemon. Salamence did not opt to try to go for a Double Protect, which I don't think would be the play to make anyway. I don't know what else you're supposed to do. Maybe it is. Salamence is going to fall asleep. Kyogre's already asleep, and it's going to be just a free turn for Groudon to come in.
You're right, and Chuppa really can't, we said before, he can't switch into Dark Void, but he can't even switch into Groudon. Thunderous,
yes,
which normally would be immune to a Precipice Blades. I mean, now it's just going to be weak to it. It's going to get hit hard by a Precipice Blade. Salamence will get hit hard by it. Of course, bringing in an Amoonguss or a Ferrothorn against a Groudon, you're asking for trouble doing that.
Definitely. And we're going to see Chuppa go ahead and switch out that Kyogre, really hoping to preserve that rain for later on to come back, even though the momentum is really in Nikolai's favor. A Precipice Blades, of course, is going to hit both Pokemon thanks to gravity. It is going to do a huge amount of damage, taking out the Thundurus because it's super effective thanks to losing its flying type. Electric type is weak to ground type moves. And Smeargle's just going to opt to go for another Dark Void because you know what? If you switch, I'm putting you to sleep.
Exactly. Like you said earlier, it's pretty much a pin right here that Nikolai has. Groudon is great against the Salamence and the Kyogre right there with the weather in his favor, so he knows Chuppa's only option really is just to switch.
Absolutely.
Might as well just keep Dark Voiding if Groudon's already in a great position.
Yeah, there's no reason to risk anything. Of course, Salamence does have the opportunity to wake up this turn, probably go for a Protect, trying to stall out one more turn of Trick Room.
It does. I think Chuppa's already looking to the next battle, though, at this point. Yeah. He's in a really bad spot. That he did bring Thundurus, but I think next time he's going to want to lead it against a Cresselia or a Smeargle, but yeah, it might be too late for this battle for Chuppa to bring it around.
It's pretty tough, especially you're seeing, although Nikolai isn't using the big six, he's using two of the most prominent members, Groudon and Smeargle.
And here we see Crafty Shield. Sorry to interrupt, but this is a move that Smeargles have been using a lot recently, and that's a way to counter not only other Smeargles, but this Amoonguss here, which is normally a great counter to Trick Room. Now it can't even Spore, so Chuppa's in a lot of trouble.
Oh my goodness, and a critical hit on Amoonguss leaves it at 7 HP, of course, knocking out that Salamence. Seeing that Crafty Shield is beautiful. That's the first time I've personally seen it on stream.
Me too. It's been gaining a lot of popularity. It was used a lot in Virginia, and even a little before that, a lot of players were talking that Crafty Shield on Smeargle could be kind of a tech for this kind of, you know, Big Six style metagame. But Nikolai is using it not only to counter the Big Six, but this Amoonguss that's usually a Trick Room counter. Crafty Shield really does really well against Amoonguss.
Absolutely, and now that the Trick Room has run out last turn, Smeargle's no longer faster. We're going to see Nikolai switch out the Groudon because there's no reason to leave it in. You just want to seal this game up, making sure that you win that Weather War. Switching back into his bulky Cresselia, Kyogre is going to wake up and go for an Origin Pulse, which is going to connect on both of Nikolai's Pokemon. So we're going to see a good amount of damage here, most likely bringing Smeargle down to its Focus Sash. Actually, not bring it down to its Focus Sash. So we're going to see there's definitely some defensive investment in that Smeargle, as Dark Void is going to connect on both Pokemon. So Chuppa, as Ray had said, he's definitely looking towards the next game at this point.
He is, yep.
Both Pokemon being asleep. Amoonguss, of course, burning the first turn, but it has 7 HP left. It's really not going to matter too much. Gravity is going to return to normal.
Yep, and Chuppa doesn't have any more Pokemon left, so a Groudon coming back in will turn off the weather. But as we see there, Chuppa realizing it's pretty much over and decides to just get right onto game 2.
Which sometimes isn't a bad thing. As much as we were talking about player pride, like, you just want to stay focused. I don't want to waste these turns where I just get to watch my opponent play with his food before he eats it.
Exactly, and I really think Chuppa was already thinking about game 2 throughout that match. He probably doesn't need much more time he probably realized what he needs to do differently for game 2, and might as well get to game 2 right away, give Nikolai less time to really start thinking about game 2, because remember, the longer Nikolai is in complete control of the match, he can also just start thinking ahead to game 2. He might not want to change anything, but hey, he can at least start thinking about it as long as that battle's in his control.
So now I completely agree. I don't think Nikolai has to change anything because he won game 1 in commanding fashion.
He did.
It's all up to Chuppa to decide what he's got to do.
I think Nikolai does have to worry about a Thundurus lead.
Yes.
I think that is what Chuppa's going to change about the way he played game 1. I really think he brings Thundurus as a lead game 2, seeing what happened there at game 1.
Yeah.
So I think Nikolai's got to be ready for that. Smeargle does have some options against Thundurus. It can redirect a taunt. We don't know what kind of item Cresselia has. Maybe it has like Mental Herb or something. So Nikolai, really, like you said, he can continue doing the same thing. There's no reason not to based on how handily he won that match. But, you never know. He might want to maybe change something up if he feels in complete control, Just throw Chuppa a little bit of a curveball, try and see if he can out-predict him, and then worst comes to worst, he just does the same thing in game 1 and game 3 and just seal the match there. So we'll see what he decides to go for.
And we're definitely going to see it right now as we jump over back to the players. It is going to be interesting because, of course, you'll have, no matter what, you have to change mid-match, but I guess in my mind it's like, okay, you won game 1. It's up to Chuppa to change. Do I really want to risk predicting him? But like you said, if you feel like you're in complete control and you got your suit and tie on, you might want to make that prediction and be like, oh, I'm the man right now.
Yeah,
you're leading Thundurus.
Like if you're thinking Chuppa's definitely going to lead Thundurus, might as well make that prediction. You're up 1-0. At worst comes to worst, say in game 3, you just do the same thing you did in game 1.
Yeah, that is very true. So we're going to see exactly what Nikolai decided, if he did stick to his guns or he's given he goes ahead and leads with Cresselia Smeargle as he gives a little face to the camera. Caught me off guard a little bit. A nice little wink. As Chuppa does lead Salamence Kyogre, so not seeing that Thundurus lead.
Yep, so Nikolai sticking with his guns there, and Chuppa deciding he doesn't really need Thunderous yet. This is kind of what he did last turn. Salaman's Kyogre lead, except he doubled up into Smeargle and when it just protected itself. What's he going to do this time? Is he going to try that again? Is Nikolai going to Crafty Shield again? Is he just going to straight up Dark Void? There's a lot of mind games here.
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
The thing is, either way, he's going to get Trick Room up again, leading Cresselia Smeargle against Salaman's Kyogre. There's no way for Chuppa to stop a Trick Room from getting up. If Nikolai really wants that Trick Room to get up, it'll get up.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think, obviously, the ideal situation is where Nikolai gets to have his Smeargle and his Cresselia. But no matter what, Trick Room's getting up. I'm not sure if Cresselia can live being doubled up into by Salamence and Kyogre.
I don't believe it can, especially if it has like a Citrus Berry, then it'll just heal up.
So maybe the option for Chuppa is, oh, never mind. Chuppa's going to go ahead and switch his Kyogre. I was going to say maybe just double into the Cresselia, just hoping, make sure Trick Room doesn't get up, and unless he goes for Follow Me, then you get your cake and eat it too, without risking a spiky shield. Because if you were going to double target down the Smeargle anyway, you might as well double target down the actual problem of Trick Room setting. Then again, Smeargle can set Trick Room too.
Then again, yep, it can. And then if Nikolai just predicts that, that's also an issue. If he just goes for Dark Void on turn 1, like we see right here.
Oh my goodness, so we're going to see a Hyper Voice do minimal damage to that Cresselia. Dark Void is going to connect on both Pokemon. It looks like there is no miss from that Dark Void just yet. Amoonguss and Salamence are taking a nap. I believe we're going to see Cresselia also set up that Trick Room right now. There it is. So once again, it feels a little bit like Groundhog Day here. A little bit of deja vu from Game 1.
Yeah, I think Chuppa really didn't want to lead Kyogre because he needs that to try and win the Weather War against Groudon. He wants to bring it in later, I think, especially if he's just going to switch it out turn 1 like that. I mean, against a Smeargle, you don't want to give it free turns. And now Amoonguss is asleep, and I mean, Smeargle has Crafty Shield anyway, so...
Yeah,
Chuppa's in another bad spot here. We see just how powerful Trick Room is.
Yeah, Trick Room is incredible. I really do agree with you that it's going to be meta-defining for sure, as it has been a prominent tactic throughout VGC. But just seeing now you can take advantage of Trick Room with these beasts, with these incredible spread moves.
Yep, and I think Nikolai's version of Smeargle here, he's playing it a lot bulkier and a lot slower. I think that's the way to play Smeargle in this format. I'm not a huge fan, despite how, of course, game-breaking it can be on those big 6-style teams. I think on a team like this where you're giving Crafty Shield support and you're a little slower, I think that is more beneficial to the team, and it's just a lot safer and it's a lot more consistent, I think.
Of course, and a situation right here, we can see Nikolai decides to bring the Kyogre because he maybe expected Chuppa to bring the Kyogre again and doesn't have to worry about the sun right now. At least that might be Nikolai's suspicion. But then we're going to see the Groudon switch in. So Chuppa makes a very nice prediction here. Going to negate the heavy rain with the desolate land, getting that sunshine up. Of course, it doesn't mean that Chuppa's in the best of positions. One Pokemon is still asleep. There's a possibility that this Groudon is just going to get put to sleep right now, which still leaves Nikolai in great position.
And that's an interesting switch from Nikolai bringing in Kyogre. I know Amoonguss is asleep, and I know Smeargle has Crafty Shield to block a Spore, but bringing a Kyogre into Amoonguss is a little risky, and Chuppa, of course, having Groudon out right now is great. I mean, it slept, so it's really not great, but an Ice Beam would take a while to take it down if it goes for an Ice Beam on Amoonguss. Amoonguss is bulky, it won't get KO'd in one hit. But Chuppa's still not in a great spot, but it could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse, but like you just said, it's never a great spot when 3 of your Pokemon are sleeping.
No, it really isn't.
There's not much you want. You never want to be in that position.
No, the best situation for Chuppa is all of these Pokemon, of course, waking up after one turn, but more importantly than that, Nikolai playing as if they're going to stay asleep. And then they wake up. Yeah, you want to play expecting that there's a possibility they wake up the first turn, even though it's unlikely. That's really Chuppa's only hope.
Of course, we were just talking about sometimes you have to play to the worst case scenario as a player. And that would definitely be the way to do it. Just expect them to wake up.
Yep, as well as playing to your win condition. Chuppa's win condition here is they wake up in one turn. If they stay asleep 3 turns, I mean, Nikolai's got this. So Chuppa's got to play as if they wake up really, really quickly.
Absolutely, and we're going to see Groudon actually leaves the field, and Kyogre is going to come in. It's going to be interesting to see if Nikolai predicted that, or if Chuppa's kind of trying to swing momentum in his favor.
I think Chuppa might have been predicting a Kyogre switch out to a Groudon, so that way he could win the Weather War again, bringing the Kyogre out, since Nikolai's Kyogre would have been switched out before Chuppa's Groudon based on speed.
Definitely, we're going to see the Crafty Shield is going to block that Spore as Nikolai's Kyogre goes for the Ice Beam into Amoonguss. It is going to be a 2-hit KO if that Amoonguss decides to stay on the field.
I think expecting a Crafty Shield there, I think Chuppa had to do that. But, I mean, alternatively, Smeargle also could have gone for a Follow Me, since if Amoonguss did go for a Grass Knot that hardly would have done any damage. So, you know, good play by both players, really.
Yeah, it was a solid turn from on both sides. Chuppa was able to get one of his Pokemon to wake up, so that's a good time. And only 2 sleeping Pokemon remain.
Yep, and even though Chuppa did lose that prediction there, I mean, it was still a good play, I think.
Yeah, it is just tough because you did have the weather. You were winning the weather war at that moment. And you could have, although you're not going to do too much damage, then again, you can go for your ground type moves and really do some damage to the Kyogre had he just stayed in. So it is an interesting play, like you said, maybe just an over prediction trying to win the weather war in the future. But when you're playing, you want to think about the whole game. So sometimes you get a little caught up in that.
Yep, and also this Crafty Shield and Follow Me prediction, because a Grass Knot would do a lot of damage to Kyogre, but almost no damage to Smeargle. So if Smeargle were to follow me that Grass Knot, I mean, that would be a great prediction by Nikolai. But then if you follow me a Spore, now your Smeargle is useless.
Yeah, so it's definitely a risk there, though we do see that he doesn't go for the Follow Me, and the Grass Knot is going to really reduce the damage of the Water Spout from Nikolai's Kyogre, and that Origin Pulse is going to take Smeargle out, so either way, Smeargle is useless. I think the Follow Me was the play to make for sure, especially if you were clicking Water Spout. That's the only reason why I would say Follow Me.
Yep, I agree.
Without a doubt.
So this could be a good turnaround for Chuppa, knocking out that Smeargle, which has been a pain this entire match, not only this game, but the first game as well. But this is a really good situation for Nikolai, having the Groudon out, so he's got the weather in his favor right now. Of course, Amoonguss doesn't like any fire moves. Kyogre, if it gets hit by a Precipice Blades, that's going to do a lot of damage. Salmon switching would be good, but Nikolai, he's a world's winner. I'm sure he's expecting that and probably has his Ice Beam already.
Exactly. I was just about to say, the Ice Beam is still there. We've seen it, especially with the Sun Up. Obviously, that's Kyogre's move of choice, unless Nikolai decides to switch it out. But Precipice Blades, I feel like Nikolai still has the momentum right now.
I agree. Despite having one Pokemon knocked out, 2 of Chuppa's are asleep, and Amoonguss is really low. And of course, he's got the weather in his advantage, so Nikolai's definitely in a good spot here.
Yeah, I think Chuppa has to preserve his Kyogre, despite the fact that even though Nikolai has a Kyogre as well, Nikolai's Kyogre is a lot lower HP than his Groudon is, so why not just keep that rain around on your side?
That's the other thing. If Nikolai just goes for a Precipice Blades and an Ice Beam on Kyogre, if Chuppa does decide to switch, well, something's going to get knocked out.
Exactly, and we're going to see Chuppa does switch that Kyogre out. Thought process of having to preserve that rain is there, like I just said for him. Salamence is going to switch in, of course, it's Mega Evolve, so there's no Intimidate. Groudon's actually going to go for a Protect. So that's a little bit of it's a defensive play for sure, as Amoonguss goes for a Spore. Groudon doesn't get put to sleep as an Ice Beam. Did he target down the Kyogre slot? He did target down the Kyogre slot, and it's going to be enough to take out the Salamence.
Yep, great prediction from Nikolai there, going for an Ice Beam on what was a pretty obvious switch. But of course, in these kind of situations, nothing's obvious. It's always so intense, and it was a great play by Nikolai there.
Without a doubt, and even keeping track of his Trick Room turns, you can see that was the turn that Trick Room ran out. That's why he wanted to protect that Groudon, because Groudon would have been put to sleep had he not protected. So an absolutely beautiful play that I didn't see at first. Now that I saw the Trick Room run out, it makes perfect sense.
Yep, I agree.
It's definitely awesome to see these players manipulate, and this is the reason why. You can see Nikolai is 8-0. He went undefeated yesterday, which you have yet to mention. Undefeated yesterday.
That's a world's winner for you.
that is a world's winner for you. Being able to manipulate speed control, and honestly, you can even see that he makes the safer plays. He was using gravity to make sure that his Precipice Blades would always hit, and hit things that wouldn't normally be affected by it. He used gravity to make sure the Dark Void always hit.
Yep, and so that's what's so dangerous about playing against a player like that who's playing so safe, but then he's also got the capability to Ice Beam a Kyogre and nail your Salamence on the switch.
Exactly.
And, I mean, even though that was kind of like an expected switch and a safe play, I mean, when you're playing against a player capable of those kind of reads and making those kind of moves in high pressure situations like this, it is so dangerous.
Yeah, that is like you just said. That is how you can recognize a world champion right there, because being able to perform under pressure like that. We're going to see the Ice Beam take the Amoonguss out. It is going to faint, leaving Chuppa with just a single Kyogre left. And with Groudon in the back for Nikolai, he's got this weather war on lock.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Groudon's still on Chuppa's side of the field.
Yep, so both players have their primals remaining. Cresselia still at full HP. Groudon asleep, of course. Well, Cresselia is almost at full HP.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see, because it is a 2v3 situation with Groudon sleeping, but Kyogre only has minimal HP left.
That's true, but if Trick Room's up, then I imagine Nikolai's Kyogre will go first, but it doesn't have the weather in its favor, so it's not in a great spot. I think the best situation is having Trick Room up as well as Nikolai's Groudon out, because it threatens Chuppa's Groudon with the Precipice Blades. The sun will be up, so a Kyogre can't really do much to it. and Precipice Blades will still deal a lot to the Kyogre.
Absolutely. We're going to see Groudon does stay asleep while trying to go for Protect. Chuppa does go for the Ice Beam on the Cresselia. No freeze there. As Nikolai's Kyogre goes for an Ice Beam on the Groudon, doing a good amount of damage, almost a 2-hit KO, as Cresselia does set that Trick Room up. So I think Chuppa made a great play by not knocking out that Kyogre.
Exactly. We saw it yesterday, actually, where knocking out the opponent's Pokemon was actually what led to his defeat. I think Chuppa realizes that if he knocks out this Kyogre, Groudon's going to come in for free in Trick Room and really seal the match for Nikolai.
Exactly.
So I think focusing on Cresselia and not knocking out the Kyogre there, especially since the sun is up, so Kyogre's not that threatening, that was a really good play for Chuppa. He recognizes what he has to do if he wants to win this match.
Yeah, so he's not out of it just yet. It's interesting when you look at it from an outside point of view. You never think, how can knocking out my opponent's Pokemon be wrong? But that's literally, had he targeted down that Kyogre, it would have sealed the deal. It's actually going to force Nikolai.
This is the chance. Now Chuppa, he's got a chance for Groudon to wake up and nail this Groudon on the switch-in. So this is what Chuppa was hoping for, is his last chance here.
So is he going to get it? Is the Groudon going to wake up? We're going to see Cresselia go for this skill swap.
That should seal it, because now the sun lights up. He can't be hit by water moves, but now he can't even get hit by a ground move. So
yeah, because he's got he gets the levitate ability from Cresselia.
Although if this Cresselia gets knocked out, then Kyogre will come in and bring the rain back for Chuppa's side.
Oh my goodness, this is intense. We're going to see the Precipice Blades does connect on the Cresselia. It did lose Levitate. Obviously, Groudon was immune to it thanks to gaining Levitate. Now Kyogre is going to come in, like Ray just said, set up the rain. How fitting is that Game 2 is going to end with literally double Primal on the field?
It really is. And of course, Precipice Blade's not 100% accurate, so if Kyogre can maybe avoid a Precipice Blades and then hit a water move,
that could be the game.
Precipice Blades might not even knock out Kyogre, since it's pretty bulky, so.
Yeah, it all depends. I think it's going to have to come down to, obviously, Kyogre's going to double into that slot. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be how the trainers trained their Pokemon. Right now, Trick Room's up, so Nikolai probably has the slower Pokemon to be advantageous in that setting.
Yep, Nikolai definitely trained his Pokemon to take advantage of Trick Room, so they should move before Chuppa's. There are some Protect mind games that could happen here. Chuppa protecting his Kyogre and maybe trying to get Groudon to get a cheeky little knockout on Nikolai's low HP Kyogre, since Kyogre should be able to survive a Precipice Blades from Nikolai's Groudon at this level of HP.
Yeah, well, we're going to see those Protect games happen right now. We're going to see Nikolai's Groudon actually go for a Protect here, as Groudon is also going to go for a Protect on the opposite side of the field. Chuppa opting for the same strategy. We're going to see Kyogre goes for the Origin Pulse, so it is going to connect on the opposing Kyogre, but not the Groudon, which is really what Nikolai was hoping to see at that point. Not going to do. Oh, it does a good amount of damage to the Chuppa's Kyogre. It's a critical hit, and that's exactly why, which is definitely going to put it in range of Precipice Blades.
That's huge. Now it is in Precipice Blades range. If it hits, Nikolai should win this match.
Absolutely, we're going to see.
That's a big if, because we've seen it miss before.
That is true. The other problem is that I believe Trick Room's on its second turn. So right now, Nikolai has the advantage. But if Kyogre clicks Protect and Trick Room runs out,
then
Kyogre is going to take him down.
Yep.
So I actually think that Chuppa's in a pretty solid position.
Yep, stalling out Trick Room. Definitely a good play by Chuppa if he were to go for that.
We're just going to have to wait and see exactly what he decides to do. I think that is the play to make.
No, we're going
to... Kyogre avoids the Precipice Blades, not even opting to go for a Protect.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many turns of Trick Room were left there. I
Maybe there
not
was 2
counting.
more. It's possible that there was 2 more for sure. I had thought that 2 had already passed, but it's possible that maybe there wasn't. Origin Pulse is going to connect, and we're going to be seeing a Game 3 from these 2 incredible, incredible players. Wow!
Well, that was a great comeback by Chuppa. I think the turning point that match was Nikolai switching out the Kyogre, and Chuppa, all the credit to him not knocking out that Kyogre. Most players would have knocked it out. I mean, it was, you're knocking out a restricted Pokemon. It's got so little HP. It's a Kyogre. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Chuppa recognizing he can't knock it out. He can't let Groudon get a free switch in Trick Room.
It definitely takes an experienced player to recognize those moments, because you don't want to get caught up in the game like, oh, okay, it's 4 Pokemon, knock him out, knock him out, knock him out. You have to think about the game not turn by turn, but by all, in this format, like 7 turns that the game happens.
You really do. You have to think multiple turns in advance, and Chuppa definitely did that.
Absolutely. So it was cool to see, like you said, that comeback. He was really, he wasn't as pinned as he was in Game 1. Surprisingly enough, without leading the Thunderous that we had thought he'd want to lead.
Yep, and even switching out his Kyogre as soon as he led it and letting his Pokemon get slept. I think he had 3 Pokemon asleep at the same time that game.
Yeah, he had 3 Pokemon asleep. That is insane. But he was able to clutch it out, come through, and bring it to a game 3, really trying to get to top 4. Both these players, obviously, they want to go all the way. Nikolai being undefeated, he doesn't want to lose right now. He wants to be in the finals.
No, he doesn't. I'm sure that miss from the Precipice Blades, that has to be pretty disheartening, but he can't let it get to him. Like I said before, it's a mental game, but he's a world champion. He's been in situations like this. I know I don't need to tell him that. He knows he's in a good position here. He did really well game 1. Game 2, he had the odds in his favor. He had an 85% chance to win that game. He can't let the fact that he lost get to him.
Definitely. We're ready to jump over to that game in team preview right now. It can be disheartening. Obviously, when your Pokemon are getting put to sleep, you have 3 Pokemon asleep, and then you miss a Precipice Blades, but you cannot carry that over to the next game. You have to understand that the only thing you're supposed to take from both those games is the information you got.
Exactly.
That's all you should take, and any positivity. So we're ready to go over to that game right now. They're jumping into it. We're going to see exactly how they decide to lead. Did they decide to lead differently for game 3? It's going to be interesting to see. Winking at the camera, as always. Nikolai has got confidence despite losing that last game, which is good to see. Good to see the confidence, of course. We're going to see the same exact lead from Nikolai, Smeargle, Cresselia, because why not? It worked so well the first game. Second game, really, he felt like he had that game. It just was the miss. And then we're going to see a Ferrothorn Salamence lead.
Yep, so Chuppa is switching it up. Ferrothorn does carry Lumberry occasionally. If that is Chuppa's item, then a Dark Void from the Smeargle, really not a big deal.
Yeah, and he would be able to do a variety of things if it's carrying Substitute, if he just wants to go on the offensive and attack Smeargle.
Yep, and of course, if Cresselia goes for a Trick Room, Ferrothorn's very slow, so it doesn't mind that. It's really good against Kyogre. This is the kind of adaptation that Chuppa made that could really be a turning point here. If he just gets rid of that Groudon, Ferrothorn will be in a prime position to carry Chuppa to the best of 4 round.
Absolutely. I think it's cool that he waited to the game 3 to bring it, because he didn't make that adaptation in game 2 because he felt like, if I make this in game 2, I don't have an ace in the hole for game 3. So I just got to get through game 3 without this change. We're going to see Salamence protect as Smeargle does go for the Dark Void here, which is going to connect on the Ferrothorn. Salamence does protect itself. We're going to see Ferrothorn go to sleep, but does Ferrothorn have that Lumberry that Ray was talking about? He does have that Lumberry to wake up, so Dark Void not really a problem. Cresselia is going to go for an Ice Beam into the Salamence, but of course it's protected as Ferrothorn sets up a Substitute.
Great play by Chuppa there, protecting the Salamence. That's big because if Trick Room did go up, then Ferrothorn would have been free in Trick Room. It's the slowest on the field, so in Trick Room it would move first, and then Salamence can just easily switch out rather than attacking there and risk getting hit by an Ice Beam or a Dark Void. Even though a Hyper Voice or a Double Edge would have done a lot of damage to Smeargle, it wouldn't have KO'd it. So he's sacrificing Salamence there if he decides to attack, especially since Ferrothorn's slow. It's not like he could have doubled up into Smeargle like he tried game 1.
Yes.
So protecting Salamence there was a really good play.
Absolutely, and setting up that Substitute is 100% clutch, because now Dark Void is never going to hit Ferrothorn while he's behind that Substitute.
Nope. And Cresselia can't really break the Substitute very easily. Smeargle, of course, rarely carries any attacking moves, so it can't break the Substitute. It's up to Groudon and Kyogre to break the Substitute. Kyogre, of course, doesn't want to be against a Ferrothorn getting hit by a Power Whip. No. So it's up to Groudon.
And then we're going to see the Smeargle go for the Spiky Shield to protect itself as Salamence goes for the Hyper Voice, which is going to hit both Pokemon, or would if Smeargle didn't Spiky Shield. Cresselia going to take minimal damage from that and exchange off for an Ice Beam, so that is a really rough spot, but Chuppa's Salamence is going to hang on as Ferrothorn goes for a Power Whip into the Cresselia slot. Very nice predicting that Spiky Shield, not wanting to waste any pressure that he could put on Nikolai.
Great play by Chuppa there, because getting damage onto Cresselia here is big, because in previous battles, we saw Cresselia kind of threaten Trick Room more than once.
Yes.
It hung around and was able to get Trick Room up multiple times. The more damage he does now, Trick Room isn't up. If Nikolai can only get Trick Room up once, or even in the best case scenario, not at all, that's great for Chuppa.
Of course, and it's what else is really good for Chuppa is that Cresselia stayed out of Citrus Berry range just by a little bit if it was carrying the Citrus Berry, which I believe we did see in the last game. So making sure that it doesn't pop and regain HP is very, very nice, because really what Chuppa wants to do is get one solid hit in here right now, if possible. Cresselia is a very defensive Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of Chuppa's Pokemon have that capability. Maybe a Kyogre Origin Pulse would be able to, but that's really the only thing. And he's going to pop the Citrus Berry here anyway.
Yeah, he's going to pop it with the Hyper Voice and do over 50% to the Smeargle. We're going to see Cresselia's HP just come right back up. Those hit points get restored by that Citrus Berry. Smeargle's going to go for the Dark Void now. Of course, we know that Ferrothorn is immune, but is it going to connect on the Salamence? It looks like it is going to connect on the Salamence, which is good for Nikolai. Of course, Chuppa being in a bad spot. Ice Beam from Cresselia is going to go off, targeting down that Salamence. So despite being asleep, I actually don't agree with that play. You just put a Salamence to sleep and then you knock it out, giving a free switch
Yeah,
to
so
Chuppa.
Smeargle didn't really do much of anything there, and Power Whip avoid,
and then the Power
but
Whip is going to miss.
it's still good for Chuppa, though, because, like you said, it's a free switch in. He really threatens both Pokemon if he were to bring in a Kyogre in here, an Origin Pulse. Some Smeargles carry Wide Guard, but Nikolai's, I think we've seen enough moves, though I'm not sure if we have, but Wide Guard extremely unlikely from it at this point.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. I was going to say I really want to see the Groudon because I don't want to see the Kyogre because Kyogre, if it wants to go for a Water Spout, there's or any Water type move, there's a strong possibility that Nikolai can switch into his Groudon. But at least Groudon has the option, although it's not going to affect the Cresselia. Cresselia is not really doing too much right now. Obviously, the threat of Trick Room is there. Had that Power Whip connected, I think Chuppa would be much more confident in this play. But I think this is still a good play.
Yep, definitely. He won't knock out the Cresselia, but it's still a good play. Like you said, it's not like a Groudon switch-in, which would just thwart the Kyogre switch-in, can happen. And if Nikolai does bring in Kyogre, Ferrothorn can easily take it out.
Exactly. So Chuppa seems to be in a solid position here, despite being down one Pokemon.
Yep, despite being down, Chuppa's in a great spot here behind the substitute with Ferrothorn. That's going to be big because, like we said, only Groudon's going to be able to knock out the Ferrothorn from Nikolai's side, unless he decided to switch it up. Maybe. Wow,
we're going to see Groudon go straight for the Eruption in the sun, going to be able to knock out that Smeargle and leave Cresselia with about 15-20% HP. It's going to come down to if this Power Whip can connect from Chuppa as Cresselia goes for the Ice Beam onto the Ferrothorn, trying to break that substitute, but it doesn't look like it's going to pop. Power Whip is going to connect on the Cresselia. It's going to be enough to take out this Cresselia. It is extremely bulky, but it is enough to take it out. So just like that, with that Eruption, what an incredibly brave play to make.
It is.
Oh my goodness.
That was a great turn for Chuppa. I don't think Nikolai can come back here because, of course, the Ferrothorn behind the substitute. And now Chuppa's in the lead 3-2. He's faster since we know Nikolai's Pokemon are trained to take advantage in Trick Room rather than outside of Trick Room like Chuppa's might be.
Yes.
So Chuppa's Pokemon will move before Nikolai's Primals. Not the Ferrothorn, of course, but Chuppa's Primals will move before Nikolai's Primals, and that's big.
Yeah, and we're going to see that the Groudon is going to Primal Revert first, which means the last thing is going to be the rain that hits the field, which honestly is going to protect that Ferrothorn even further.
Yeah, you're right. So now Ferrothorn is extremely safe. Doesn't even have to worry about Groudon anymore. In fact, Chuppa switching out his Groudon would probably not be a good play because then the sun will come back.
Exactly.
He's just going to want to attack with his Groudon straight up and just let Ferrothorn easily handle the Kyogre, and now he doesn't even have to worry about Groudon, really.
Yeah, I think we're just going to see I mean, possibly some protects, but I think Precipice Blades and Power Whip is kind of the play to make for Chuppa. He's in such huge lead right now. Oh man, it's so amazing to see that substitute Ferrothorn in Game 3 is what's really keeping Chuppa around.
It is. That's why you make these adaptations in the best of 3 and why they're so important. Nikolai showing that in the Game 1 and 2 that he wasn't going to change anything up. That lets Chuppa know, okay, I can bring Ferrothorn. You know, I'm not expecting a Salamence with maybe a Fire move. I'm not expecting a Talonflame. I know what's coming. Ferrothorn will be great in this matchup.
Absolutely. We're going to see the Precipice Blades connect on both of Nikolai's Pokemon, leaving both of them around 30%. It's a critical hit on the Kyogre. Ferrothorn dodges the Precipice Blades, so securing its substitute, not getting broken from a neutral attack. Groudon is going to be able to live on 30 HP as well, but I believe a Water Spout is going to come from this Kyogre. Despite having minimal HP, it is still a Water Spout, and Groudon is not going to be able to survive that attack. The substitute is going to take damage to Ferrothorn, and it is not going to break despite an Ice Beam and a resisted hit, not taking out that substitute. A Power Whip, though, is going to come and take out that Kyogre right here. So it looks like the rain is going to lift.
Yeah, but at this point, it's a little late because
the game
Ferrothorn is still
away
behind a substitute. Power Whip from here should knock out the Groudon. Chuppa still has a Pokemon remaining, and it's the Kyogre, so...
That is incredible that not only just the fact that it's a Ferrothorn behind a substitute, but what really put Chuppa ahead is the fact that it was carrying that Lumberry. So that kind of preparation for this format is incredible.
Exactly, yep. Knowing that Smeargle is going to be popular and having that counter to Smeargles as well as Trick Room on the same Pokemon, rather than taking up 2 slots on your team, it's taking up 1 slot. That's big because it lets you add a couple of other things on your team to shore up some of your other matchup problems.
Absolutely. So we're going to see the Ice Beam from the Kyogre go to the Groudon. Both players shake hands because that is going to be the game. And Chuppa is going to advance, and the undefeated Nikolai is going to bow out for the rest of this day.